The giant wall loomed just ahead, and man, on the other side, there were some huge monsters, better not cross right now. In building nearby, someone's asking if she not only lost them, but also let some people die. It's the round off her girl trying to explain that the people they ran into were very different. Normally, anyone would fall in for that trap. She doesn't know how, but they notice everything really fast. There was a Mohawk guy that beat up everyone. It's all girl who ran off, and one they couldn't even land a hit on. The people are making excuses when suddenly, the scalpel, whoa man, right to the head of the guy. I thought it was going to stop like a centimeter away. But no, he actually dropped dead, and that crazy white-haired girl says he was screaming too much. Another one next to her asks if she's not afraid those people might come back and attack them. She replies, no way in hell unless they're totally insane. After all, that's their hideout. If they attack there, then what would she end up eating all of them? That damn carnivore even looks like a buff female version of Guggen, doesn't she? Look at her, and speaking of him. He's going over the plan, explaining that they have to reach the other side of those guys' territory. Obviously, the idea was to avoid any trouble, but they have to pass through 3 zones before reaching the destination. The Mohawk guy is celebrating, saying it's infiltration time, while Haru is already sure monsters are going to show up. Blue then says he doubts things are going to be that easy. If he were alone, maybe he could guarantee it. But with so many people, it was impossible for them to pass through such a large area without being spotted. Eugene, however, says he guarantees it. All they have to do is follow his plan, and no one would be discovered. That the Mohawk guy asks Blue if he thinks that if they also about captured by a creature like Bujin did, they would start seeing the life force too. Blue says yes, that seems to be how Guggen saw it, but our boy is the only one who kind of has that talent naturally. In the same line of thought as the Mohawk guy, Ji Yang, of course, is already trying to sneak off, until Guggen asks where she thinks she's going man. The bandits' territory they'd be dealing with was in that direction. He tells everyone to follow him, he'll lead the way up front. They would communicate only with signals, since there's the risk of getting caught. He makes a gun signal with his hand and says it means that if they see the enemy, they keep hiding and escaping. The signal with 2 fingers and a slicing motion means they're going to attack, but that signal would only be given when absolutely necessary. The thumbs up meant retreat. Also, if in any conversation he touched his own chin, that meant he was lying. Blue is a little confused, wanting to know when exactly he used that signal. Eugene responds that he doesn't know either, he hopes he doesn't have to. But it's good they know it exists. And yeah, I can already tell this bastard's about to pull some 5-dimensional chest plan. The group's excited while Haru is trying to memorize everything all messed up, and folks, the head out from the base running through the streets as the adventure begins. Right away though, in the middle of the road, he run into a survivor, a human ball on the back of the head, or guy even looked like he'd been burned. The group was talking. Eugene gave the signal to pass by, but the Mohawk guy completely ignored it, rushed in on his own and smacked the first guy with a club. Right away, Blue had to jump in too, and a second later, the 2 fools were caught. Obviously, the group starts questioning the Mohawk guy, asking why he did that. He explains that since Eugene pointed, he thought it was his signal to attack those guys and went for it. Totally off, Eugene already realized things weren't going to be so easy, and thanks to stars that no one else was around. The only problem now is that they have to get rid of those 2. That freaks Haru and Blue out. She tells him to wait, asking if he really plans to just kill them like that. Man, in a second, he says yes, pulls out the knife, and goes to kill them for real. But our boy grabs his arm, which makes Eugene ask what he thinks he's doing. The protagonist replies that they don't have to kill these people. Eugene then says he finds that strange. He thought he and Blue were the same. What's he feeling guilty for killing them or what? Even though those guys were raiders, and they would kill them, that hesitation if the roles were reversed. Blue says he understands that it's the easiest way to avoid future trouble, but they didn't want to kill them like that. For some reason, every time he felt death close by, he had a strange feeling in his chest. But Man Vujin just asks if he really wants to ruin the mission over something that trivial. If they told anyone that they were infiltrating those territories, the mission would become extremely difficult, even for him, who's trying to find his mother. Our boy says there's a way to get out without killing them. They just have to leave the place before they wake up. Haru and the Mohawk guy cheer, saying yeah, it's better if they leave right away before the guys wake up. That way, everything's fine. And so the boys let go of Gujin's arm, who simply put his weapon away and turned around saying that it was fine. They were leaving. But the guy turned back saying he was disappointed. He had imagined Blue's motivation was stronger than that. The team kept moving forward, always running into people, and Haru had already noticed that the further they went, the worse things were getting. Suddenly, they were walking when someone asked who they were. When they turned around, a guy carrying a wooden plank said he had never seen those tricksters around there. Gujin was already spooked. If they got caught right there in the middle of everything, there would be nowhere to run. And the guy asked why they were all crouched, walking all slowly. When he goes to ask something else, the Mohawk guy says it's exactly what he's thinking. They're on incredible mission. The guy's a bit confused and asks who he is. Right away, the Mohawk shows off his hairstyle and says he should have been recognized already. The guy scares at him, and he's all weirded out. Then he calls his buddy and says they can have a private chat. He takes the guy aside, while Bujin celebrates that the chicken head actually helped for once. He keeps walking, saying that the plan is to regroup at the base or at some meeting point, just like they'd agreed. Man, they really left the Mohawk guy there, huh? What the hell? Fact Team really has confidence in their members. Sometime later, Haru checks the map and says they've just reached the central zone, which means they've already made it a quarter of the way. Man, that place is far. They enter a house and Blue says he's seen a place like that before, full of metal bars. Gujin says that place is called a prison, and it was probably being used as a base after the apocalypse. But then someone yells for help. When Blue looks to the side, there are some guys behind bars saying that if they're rescued, they'll do anything they want. Gion tells the fool to shut up. Haru wants to know what they're doing there. Confused, the guy asks if they're not with those people. Suddenly, the rest of the group starts getting up, saying they thought they'd never get out of there. The guys plea for help, saying they need to be freed before they're eaten. Gujin, confused, asks if they're fans of the monsters. But of course, the guy says no, that woman is crazy. She called herself the Predator. Outside, the group is wondering how they're supposed to help these people. Being surrounded on all sides, it wasn't going to be easy. Gujin moves on ahead, as if to say they don't have time to stop. Let alone help anyone. Haru complains, saying it sounded like he had just told the guys they were going to help. But he just answers that obviously he was lying. It caused a huge mess if those people found out they weren't coming back. Haru, kind of heartbroken, says that if they believe that, they'll keep waiting for them to return. The problem is, even she's scared, because she knows things could get more dangerous if they start getting involved in all this. Yuzun just yells that she's also again trying to save those people. It was already hard enough just with their group. Imagine if they started worrying about everyone else. Out of nowhere, Gujin asks what Blue's opinion is on the matter. He stops for a second, then says he's also against it this time. He thought it was way too risky. Gujin, all smug, turns and says that's very interesting. Wasn't he the one who was against killing those people before? He replies that it was completely different. At that moment, he was just against taking those people's lives. Exactly, because just like he says, every time he kills someone, he feels like he loses a part of himself. Out of nowhere, Haru feels a sense of dread, and as always, our boy is licking an insect. Who remembers that in the very first panels of this story, he killed a bug that was coming out of the fan and ate it, right, man? And gave it a little lick too. Haru starts punching him, saying he's disgusting, but he tries to explain that it's kind of an automatic habit. He asked if he's weird, and she says that's clearly terrible. No way he was doing that when he was in the basement. He's a little confused since it was just instinct when suddenly his people contracts. He covers her mouth and